All right, so earlier, how these videos started is I was talking to a patient, just kind of explaining to her, she was asking, is yoga good for me? Is running? How about if I swim? If I do Pilates, right? All these different questions on what's helpful for her because she currently is having some back issues and some elbow pain. And so I'm a huge fan of instead of just giving you the fish, right? Instead of giving you the answer, giving you like the framework that will help you decide, what is good for you and what's not good for you, right? And so we'll talk about that. And so, to me, I see everything as there are three things to consider when you're making a choice about yourself, especially when it comes to your health, right? And so, most people know the bottom tier, the lowest tier, which is what's the tactical thing, right? And that may be like, I don't know, is eating keto better for me, or is yoga good for me, right? So what are the things to do, the shiny objects, or all the Facebook tips and tricks that we're constantly seeing on our wall that's like making us crazy and confused with all the hacks, right? And so that's the lowest layer. What I'm suggesting is don't even consider those, right? Focus on the top two, right? So, and now we're going to go to the highest layer. The highest layer, essentially just ask yourself, like, what's the fuel, like what's the intention and the energy behind this, right? And for example, we're going to apply this towards yoga, right? And so when you do yoga, right? So what's the energy? Like, what was the intent? Like even before the class, what was the overall vibrational energy, right? There's many words for this. There's in the spiritual world, right? It's like, what's the vibrational frequency? What is the universe wanting to tell me, right? In the religious world, it might be like, what does God want from me? And so if that energy, let's say, is one, typically when people, if we apply to working out, it might be like, I want to work my body, right? I want to do something to my body. I want to change my body, right? What I'm suggesting is if you just set the intention towards something that's along the lines of like, let me just nurture, support, and heal and love my body, that's a very different energy than working my body to change it, right? Because keep in mind that when you're working your body, that energy comes from the place of like, currently A is not what I want and I want B. And then whereas self-love, it's like, actually A is awesome, right? Just nurturing self. And so that's like the highest level. If you set that intention and put that in place, right? Self-love, self-nurturing, then the next level, right? Sort of if that's the energy, and now what's the practice? I made tons of videos on like we're always practicing something, right? We're never not doing anything. It's always interesting when people say to me like, oh, what'd you do this weekend or that day, or whatever? Oh, I did nothing. Well, like the only time you do nothing is when you're dead, right? Even if you're sitting, you're sitting. That's a something. If you're watching TV, you're watching TV. You're breathing. You inhale and exhale. There's always an action. There's always a practice. And so sometimes I find that humans may not be setting intentional and an intentionality behind what am I practicing, right? And so we'll apply this to yoga again. And so some people, like the highest level, will be like, I want to work. I want to change my body. Then one layer, like the practice, is I want to have more strength, more flexibility, more balance, and all those things, right? And so what if we set it to a different practice, right? Maybe the practice could be, I want to be more connected to myself, right? So if the energy, the vibration is self-love, the practice is being connected more to self, being aware of all the different feelings and emotions and whatever by just paying attention to self, by connecting to self. What ends up happening is if you have the energy of self-love and the practice, right, the intention practice is connected to self, whatever that last thing is, it could be yoga, it could be paleo diet, it could be lemon juice, it could be running, sprinting, CrossFit, kettlebells, doesn't matter what it is. When you have those two in place, you just ask yourself that last question, right? In that situation, it's like, all right, should I do my yoga, my CrossFit, my workout, my keto diet? I guarantee you your first gut initial response, we'll call it God's talking to you from a religious perspective. From the spiritual world, right, we'll call it your higher self, your soul. If you're not spiritual, not into God, it's like the universe telling you. The answer comes immediately, right? And so if you just apply that process where, right, just we'll review, highest level is self-love, self-nurturing. The practice could be something of like self-awareness, practicing healing the self, connecting to self. And then the last tactical thing, I just asked, like, and here's the key, here's a very important part. It has to be the first gut response, right? Because thousands of patients later, what I've learned is that the first gut response comes, and then the ego and the logical left brain kicks in and says, no, that doesn't make sense. I really want to lose weight, so I got to do the yoga class. Whereas the first gut instinct is, no, don't do the yoga class right now because your back is kind of sore, right? Then the ego kicks in and says, no, I got to change. I got to work it. It reverts back to I got to work my body, just because all the marketing messages we've ever been bombarded with has told us like we're broken and you got to fix yourself. Right. So this is just the other energy, the other practice of you are love, self-love, practice connecting to self, right? And then the last thing, whatever that may be, you ask that question and follow the first gut instinct. And so I'll take a little playbook from something I've learned, which is like you can write with your non-dominant hand. If nothing comes through, if you're just not as practiced at tapping into that gut response, if there's a lot of inner chatter going on, you could always just put a pen or pencil in your non-dominant hand and write that response, right? So that's a little bit easier way to kind of tap into it. And so, yeah, and even just think about it, even that practice has its own practice, right? You're literally also practicing now tapping into, again, we'll call it God, higher self, or universe, whatever frame of reality you like to believe in. And so, yep, do this, apply that, and this way, I believe that we are our best healers, right? So I'm a healer, entrepreneur, we do amazing, cool stuff. But part of our goal is to empower people to be their own healers, like because so you don't rely on us. Like no good coach, healer, parent wants their people to rely on them, right? Like you want to empower the people to do it themselves and take even that framework and build upon it, and and do greater things, right? So like the biggest compliment to like a teacher is to have their student learn more than them, right? And so take these concepts, apply it, and I found it to be really useful for myself and for the thousands of patients we worked with here. And so, yeah, in this way, you don't have to chase all the shiny object syndromes, whatever comes, right? You just kind of go through that question process, like what's the fuel of, the energy, right? Self-love. What's the practice, right? Connecting to self is a very common, popular, and very effective one. And then the tactical thing is ask the question, and then whatever the gut response comes, act on it. Enjoy your day, and get off Facebook. Too much Facebook isn't healthy.